My name is Roy, I'm 42 and I own an auto repair shop in Denver. 20 years ago, I started with a small garage workshop, and now I have a thriving business with 15 employees. My wife Sophia, 39, was always by my side, handling the bookkeeping, helping with paperwork, knowing every detail of our business. We were a team. At least that's what I thought. It all started when Sophia began showing up at the office more frequently. Previously, she worked mostly from home, but now she came in almost daily to check on things. At first, I actually liked it. Finally, we were spending more time together. But what happened next changed everything. One Thursday evening, Sophia stayed late at the office while I went home to prepare dinner. When I returned with Chinese food, I saw lights in the windows. I walked inside and heard Sophia talking on the phone. She was speaking quietly, but I caught words like, "can't right now," "he'll be here soon," and "definitely tomorrow." When I entered the office, Sophia quickly ended the call and said it was a client with billing questions. But something in her look made me uneasy. Although why should I not trust her? We're married after all. The next morning I arrived earlier than usual and saw a strange scene. My secretary Melissa was unwrapping a beautiful box from a jewelry store. Inside was a gold bracelet that cost at least $1,000. At my surprised look, she quickly explained it was a gift from her boyfriend for their anniversary. But Melissa had been single for 2 years, ever since her divorce. I knew this for certain because she often talked about her unsuccessful dates. So why was she lying? A week later, I saw her unwrapping another gift, this time an expensive Coach handbag. And a few days after that, Chanel perfume. Melissa clearly couldn't afford such things on a secretary's salary, even if she really had a wealthy boyfriend. The picture began to form when I remembered the more frequent late work nights. Lately, I really had been staying late, but not always because of work. Sometimes I just sat in the office thinking about our marriage, which was becoming increasingly formal. Sophia also often worked late and we barely saw each other at home. One evening I decided to return to the office for forgotten keys. It was around 9 in the evening, light was only on in my office. Carefully approaching, I saw something that would change my life forever. Sophia was sitting at my desk counting a stack of cash. Next to her lay documents I couldn't see from a distance. But one thing was clear, these weren't ordinary accounting reports. She was writing something in a notebook, occasionally calculating on a calculator. I quietly stepped away, not knowing what to do. That evening Sophia came home as usual, complained about being tired, and went to bed. I lay next to her trying to understand what was happening. Maybe she was preparing a surprise for me? Or saving money for something special. But Melissa's gifts wouldn't leave me alone. The next day I decided to conduct a small experiment. I told Sophia I was going to meet with a supplier and would return late. Instead, I parked a block away from the office and waited. At 6 in the evening, a car I didn't recognize pulled up to the auto shop. A man about 40 in an expensive suit got out. He confidently walked to the entrance as if he knew the way. 10 minutes later, I saw the light in my office go out and they came out together. Sophia got into his car and they drove away. My world turned upside down. 20 years of marriage, shared business, trust, all of it crumbled in 1 minute. But the worst was yet to come. I started following Sophia. It turned out they had been meeting for 6 months. The man's name was Marcus. He worked as a financial consultant at a large company. But that wasn't all. Sophia wasn't just cheating on me. She was using our joint business to finance their meetings. Those expensive gifts for Melissa? Sophia was buying them so Melissa would stay quiet about Marcus's late visits. The cash I had seen? It was money from the auto shop register that Sophia was withdrawing under the guise of current expenses. And those documents? She was rewriting financial reports to hide the shortfall. But the biggest blow was discovering that Sophia was planning to take half the business in the divorce. I accidentally overheard her conversation with a lawyer when I came to the office earlier than usual. She was consulting about property division and was already preparing documents. That's when I realized Sophia wasn't just cheating on me. She was carefully planning to leave me and take half of everything I had built over 20 years. And I, like a naive fool, didn't even suspect. But Sophia underestimated me. She forgot that I'm not just an auto shop owner, I'm someone who knows how to survive and fight. And if she wanted to play games, she would get them. The next 2 months, I carefully gathered evidence. I installed a hidden recorder in the office, photographed all the financial documents she was hiding, even hired a private detective to document her meetings with Marcus. But most importantly, I learned about her plan. Sophia was going to file for divorce right after New Year and demand half the business. She had already prepared all the documents and even found buyers for her share. Marcus was helping her with this. It turned out he specialized precisely in business division during divorces. But I stayed one step ahead of her. A week before New Year, I came to Sophia in the office with a bouquet of flowers and a bottle of champagne. I said I wanted to celebrate a successful year and discuss plans for the future. Sophia was surprised but agreed. When we sat at the table, I placed a stack of documents in front of her. "What's this?" she asked. "Documents for selling your share of the business," I replied calmly. Sophia went pale. "What are you talking about?" I smiled and pulled out a second folder. "And this is evidence of your cheating and stealing money from our business. Photos of financial documents you falsified. Recordings of conversations with your lover. Detective reports. Everything." She tried to say something, but I continued, "You wanted to take half the business? Perfect. But now I'm proposing a different option. Either you sign documents selling me your share for a symbolic amount, or I turn over all evidence to the police and tax authorities." Sophia realized she had lost. Stealing money from the business was a criminal matter. Falsifying financial documents was too. She could end up behind bars. "How much are you offering?" she asked quietly. $10,000 for your half of a business worth at least $500,000, I replied. "And you cover all losses from your activities, another $20,000. It was harsh but fair. She played this game and lost. Sophia signed the documents. The next day she took her things and moved in with Marcus. We divorced 2 months later without any court scandal. Now, a year after these events, my auto shop is thriving like never before. I hired a new accountant, expanded the business, and even opened a second location. And Sophia? She works as an ordinary assistant in Marcus's office, and judging by what mutual acquaintances say, their relationship is already showing cracks. When someone asks if I feel sorry for Sophia, I answer honestly, no. She made her choice when she decided to cheat on me and rob me. And I made mine when I decided to fight for what I had built over the years. But the story doesn't end there. What I discovered next made everything even more twisted. 3 months after our divorce, I received an unexpected visit from Marcus. He looked terrible, unshaven, tired, desperate. He asked to speak privately, and despite everything, I agreed to hear him out. What he told me shocked even me, someone who thought he had seen it all. It turned out that Sophia had been playing a much deeper game than I had imagined. She wasn't just cheating with Marcus, she was systematically destroying his life too. While she was married to me, she convinced Marcus that I was an abusive husband who controlled all her money and threatened her if she tried to leave. Marcus, believing he was saving Sophia, had been giving her money for months, not just for gifts for Melissa, but supposedly to help her escape from me. He had given her over $50,000 of his own savings, thinking he was helping an abused woman gain independence. But that wasn't the worst part. Sophia had also been accessing Marcus's business accounts. As a financial consultant, he managed several client portfolios. Sophia had convinced him to let her help with some paperwork, gaining access to confidential client information. She had been slowly embezzling money from his clients' accounts, making it look like Marcus was the one stealing. When Marcus finally discovered what was happening, he was facing potential criminal charges and the loss of his professional license. His clients were demanding answers, and he was about to lose everything: his career, his reputation, his life savings. "She destroyed both of us," Marcus said, his voice breaking. "But at least you were smart enough to protect yourself. I was just stupid enough to believe her lies." I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and pity. Sophia hadn't just betrayed me, she had systematically destroyed everyone around her. But there was more to come. Marcus told me that Sophia was already onto her next victim. She had started working at a law firm and was getting close to one of the partners, a recently widowed man in his 50s with substantial assets. She was using the same playbook, playing the victim, claiming she was still traumatized by her abusive previous relationships, and slowly gaining his trust and access to his resources. That's when I realized that what had happened to Marcus and me wasn't personal, it was Sophia's pattern. She was a predator who specialized in finding successful, trusting men and systematically destroying their lives while enriching herself. I made a decision that night. Marcus and I formed an unlikely alliance. We would gather evidence of Sophia's crimes and make sure she faced consequences for what she had done to both of us and prevent her from doing it to others. Over the next month, we worked together to document everything. Marcus provided evidence of the embezzlement from his clients' accounts. I had my evidence of the theft from my business. We also hired the same private detective to investigate Sophia's new target and document her current activities. What we discovered was a pattern spanning years. Sophia had done this before, even before she married me. We found records of at least 3 other men she had financially destroyed through similar schemes. She would marry or get involved with successful businessmen, gain their trust, access their finances, steal what she could, and then disappear when things got too hot. The widowed lawyer she was targeting now was already showing signs of being her next victim. He had given her access to his personal accounts, to help with household expenses, and was talking about changing his will to include her. We couldn't let it happen again. We contacted the lawyer directly and presented our evidence. At first, he didn't want to believe it. Sophia had played her role perfectly, and he was completely under her spell. But the documentation was undeniable. Bank records, recorded conversations, testimonies from multiple victims, it painted a clear picture of Sophia's predatory behavior. The lawyer was devastated but grateful. He immediately cut all ties with Sophia and helped us contact law enforcement. With multiple victims and clear evidence of financial fraud across state lines, the FBI became involved. The investigation moved quickly. Sophia was arrested at her apartment on a Tuesday morning, 3 months after my divorce was finalized. She was charged with multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, and racketeering. The evidence was overwhelming: years of criminal activity, multiple victims, hundreds of thousands of dollars in stolen money. I was in court the day she was sentenced. 2 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. She would also have to pay restitution to all her victims, though most of the money was long gone. As they led her away in handcuffs, Sophia looked at me one last time. There was no remorse in her eyes, no recognition of the lives she had destroyed. Just cold calculation, probably already planning her next move for when she got out. Marcus was there too. His life was slowly rebuilding. He had managed to keep his license after cooperating with authorities, and his clients had forgiven him once they understood he was also a victim. He was in therapy, working through the emotional trauma of realizing how completely he had been manipulated. "Do you think she'll really change?" he asked me as we left the courthouse. I looked back at the building where Sophia had just been sentenced and shook my head. People like her don't change. They just get better at hiding what they really are. But for now, at least, she couldn't hurt anyone else. 6 months later, my auto shop was more successful than ever. I had expanded to 3 locations and was considering franchising opportunities. The money I had saved by keeping Sophia from taking half my business had allowed me to grow faster than I ever could have imagined. More importantly, I had learned to trust my instincts again. The experience with Sophia had made me more cautious, but also more confident in my ability to see through deception and protect what I had worked for. Marcus and I had become unlikely friends. We met for coffee every few weeks, sometimes talking about business, sometimes just checking in on each other's recovery from the Sophia experience. He was dating again, carefully, with full background checks on anyone he got serious about, but dating nonetheless. "You know what the strangest part is?" he told me one afternoon. "I almost feel grateful to her." I raised an eyebrow. Grateful? She taught me things about myself I never would have learned otherwise. How easily I could be manipulated. How much I wanted to believe I was rescuing someone that I ignored all the warning signs. It nearly destroyed me, but surviving it made me stronger. I understood what he meant. Sophia had tried to destroy me, but in fighting back, I had discovered reserves of strength and cunning I never knew I had. The experience had been devastating, but it had also been transformative. Still, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. As I drove home that evening, I passed by the old office building where Sophia and I used to work together. New tenants had moved in, a marketing company with young, energetic employees who worked late into the night with passion for their projects, not schemes to defraud each other. I thought about the man I had been 2 years ago, trusting, perhaps naive, focused on building something good with someone I thought shared my values. That man was gone, destroyed by Sophia's betrayal as surely as if she had killed him. But the man who had taken his place was stronger, wiser, more capable of protecting himself and the people he cared about. Sophia had meant to destroy me, but instead, she had forged me into someone she could never touch again. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do to someone who has wronged you. Sometimes it's simply becoming someone they can never hurt again. And sometimes, if you're very lucky and very smart, you can make sure they can never hurt anyone else either. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Maybe YouTube will no longer offer you my channel, so subscribe to it by clicking subscribe on the right under the video to receive new interesting stories. Also on the right of the video there is a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to, and you can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.